The funny thing about life is that you can have exactly what you want if you can solve this one riddle. You have this part in you that just doesn't believe, right? That always thinks about the fearful outcome. And I have this version too, right? It's that voice that just doesn't believe and rather sits in comfort until we destroy ourselves. But the reality is this: that voice, that version of you, literally doesn't exist. You are creating it yourself, which means you yourself are making sure that things are going so slow, that you're not seeing the results for the work you're putting in, that you feel you don't deserve to earn that much money, or that you're unable to stop these routines and addictions that are killing you. And so here's my simple promise with this video. Give me 12 to 50 minutes and I'll give you a way, a formula to completely destroy, overpower the version of you that doesn't believe. Image, delusion, death ground. This helped me overcome limiting beliefs like not believing that I could earn more than 10,000 per month. It helped me overcome video games, weed, even cigarettes recently. Importantly, it helped me go from a comfortable 9-to-5 life into a life where I get paid for doing the thing I love. I'm going to explain these 3 concepts to you one by one, and after that I'll give you the whole formula that you can use on a daily basis. And for your own benefit, don't just kinda watch this video like we do so often. Really focus on this one, because I genuinely don't know anything that's more important than this. You can have the best strategies, tactics and plan to get to where you want to be, but if this doesn't work, then nothing is gonna work. So let's get into this. So the first problem is that you are fueling that lack of belief and doubt and uncertainty in yourself. And we have to learn a paradoxical truth to get rid of it. See, bad habits, addictions, and the limiting beliefs that stand in the way of you getting that amount of money or getting that thing you want, they only exist because of your attention. They can only exist because your attention reaches them. Where you are contemplating going to the fridge and breaking that streak of eating clean. It's negotiating to skip the gym, right? That moment where you are talking to yourself. In those brief intervals, your attention is reaching the fearful outcome. It is reaching the thing that you don't want. And exactly those 10 seconds of attention, where you are visualizing the other side, is what creates 100% of the struggle and suffering in your attempt to get what you want. Overcoming something you don't want or attracting something you do want can be both the hardest thing or the easiest thing you've ever done. And the difference between those two is purely how much time you've spent contemplating, negotiating, giving attention to the other side. Now, this can very quickly sound abstract and kind of wishy-washy, up in the air, right? But if you've been with me for a longer time, you know I'm a very logical person. I need to have my feet on the ground. So here's exactly how this works. It's the uncertainty principle of quantum physics. So you as a particle, if you were to walk somewhere, if we wanted to know how fast you are walking and where exactly you are walking, we couldn't know those two things perfectly at the same time. If we focus on how quickly you're walking, then your location becomes fuzzier. If we were to focus on exactly where you are, then how fast you are moving becomes fuzzier. And that is exactly how this works. You have the fearful outcome and the desired outcome, and these simply exist. We cannot get rid of them. But when you rest your focus on the fearful outcome, then what you want becomes fuzzier. And when that happens, then you are creating the reality where the fearful outcome is going to happen. So the first step here is to create the image of what you want to happen. What you want to happen in life, your desired future outcome. And the objective then is to rest our focus on the version of you that you want to be, who has the things that you want, long enough until the other side becomes so fuzzy that it loses its power. And so the paradox here is that in order to become better or to receive something you didn't have before, you have to be okay with the fact that that uncertain, doubtful version of you, that it exists in this space, that it exists, right? but that you have the choice. Just shift your focus on the thing you want to have and the man you want to be. That this in itself is the solution. And so that begins with the image. And how I like to do it is I like to write down what that future version of me does, how he behaves, right? This is a sort of integrity, right? Rules that he lives by. And then under that, a second category, the things that he has by a certain date. And that is it. I just translate my vision for life, how I want things to be. I translate it into these two categories, and that gives me that crystal clear image for the first piece of this formula. And that allows us to move to the second piece. So this is truly fascinating, and this is again coming from science, so we're going to keep our feet on the ground. The second problem now is what I like to call the interval of cognitive dissonance. It's the period where you are attempting to be someone new to get something new, while that fearful version of you is saying, hey, that's not who we are yet. So the fact that we gave it a name, imposter syndrome, is really dangerous because we're giving it an identity, while in fact it's a natural process. You don't have imposter syndrome. You also don't have perfectionism. You are just a person who is successfully, otherwise you wouldn't feel this tension, successfully becoming a new version of yourself, a better version who's going to have new things. And so you experiencing this tension of holding these two opposite realities at the same time is cognitive dissonance. It's a phase that you have to go through where two parts of you exist. The fearful you that doesn't believe it's possible, and a new you that's currently in this moment emerging. The fact that you feel that tension doesn't mean you have imposter syndrome or that it's a bad thing. It just means you are successfully becoming someone new. Now, to bring it home, getting what you want in life is a process of becoming delusional to the fearful version of you. We are going to feel that cognitive dissonance, that uncomfortable feeling of, hey, you're full of shit. Without any resistance, let that fearful version be there while we rest our focus delusionally on the man that we want to be and the thing that we want to have. Listen, I've smoked cigarettes for 10 years. And a few months ago, I quit, expecting that it would be the worst thing ever, right? The biggest challenge so far. And to my surprise, it's actually quite easy. Consistently, I'll have this feeling of, hey, usually we take a smoke here. Let's have a smoke. Let's go outside. I'm not even acknowledging that that version of me exists. And that by itself removes all the resistance and allowed me to create a new version of myself that just doesn't smoke. So literally, I urge you to become the 1 million a year entrepreneur with a broke bank account. I urge you to become the athlete currently in a fat body. Become that creator with 100k subscribers who's just starting a fresh account. Whether you like it or not, the more delusional you can become to the fearful version that we all carry, the faster and the more shocking your transformation will be. And now that deals with that second problem, the interval of cognitive dissonance, right? Those two realities at the same time. That brings us to the last piece that turns this into a complete formula for life, and that's piece number 3. The third and last problem is this. Most people just don't have urgency. And especially in this society, nobody has urgency. And so this is really where you can make strides. So death ground is a psychological group effect that comes from war. It basically means that when an army notices that it's outnumbered and going to lose, back against the wall, they access this group state of extreme survival mode. Now, of course, we don't have to act like we're gonna die every day, but we do want to take the concepts from death ground and use them to get what we want. There cannot be an escape, and there cannot be an alternative method. These are the two things that completely kill anybody's urgency all the time. It has people switching their mind and making a new plan and perfecting and doing this and doing that. Make it easy for yourself by removing all the escapes and all the alternative plans. Just like Hernan Cortes, I think in 1520 or 1519, when they conquered the Aztec Empire by literally burning the ships, giving this army no way out and no alternative method than to conquer the empire for their own survival. That's what we want to emulate, and here's the 3 ways to do it. And you might very well need all 3 of these. In a lot of moments in my life, I needed all 3 of these. The first is to write it down, to write down exactly why this isn't a choice. For example, for a long period, I thought entrepreneurship was just a nice to have for me, that it was just a cool path to take, but I didn't realize that I physically cannot go back into the 9-to-5 life. It would kill me. So it isn't a choice. Often we mistake how serious the hell behind us is. So after writing it down, the second level you can access is public deadlines, so that you introduce a level of shame you want to avoid. But especially in the business context, this works extremely well. Set a deadline for a product launch or a cohort that you're gonna do. It just works so goddamn well. And then the third, by far the most powerful, and I advise anyone to do it, and that is invest. The absolute best option here is to invest in a mentor. Not only the financial investment, of course, but the fact that you now have someone on your team who's gonna force you and literally take away all the strategy and systems and all that stuff for you to just walk the path and completely burn the ships. I've invested in multiple coaches and business mentors over my life, and it just works extremely well. You can also do this by moving abroad or booking a flight ticket, even when that means that you're introducing risk. This third level is where you actually create a sort of death ground, where now your money and our survival is on the line. I very often needed to access this third level. Now that we've handled image, delusion, and death ground, here's how the formula works on a daily basis. So every morning, without exception, you must anchor yourself to the image you created. So this is where you visualize to great detail exactly who you are and what you're gonna get by a certain date. And you run every sentence 3, 4, 5 times until you feel it. And you do this every single morning. This is where you anchor yourself for the rest of your day. Then second is that interval of cognitive dissonance, right? That's the day itself, when these uncertainties might pop up. Every single time that an alternative thought or emotion comes up, you don't resist it, you don't fight it, you just gently slide your focus back to the image that you anchored yourself with in the morning. Slide your focus back. Don't think about it. It's the contemplating, the thinking itself that keeps you in that limbo, right? Move your focus back and forget about it. Remember the uncertainty principle. As long as your focus is on your image, where you want to be, then that other thing will become fuzzier and fuzzier by itself. That's the paradox, to do nothing more than that, to allow the universe to remove that uncertain version of yourself automatically. And lastly, death ground is a one-time thing. You should have created it so that right now you genuinely feel like there is no escape and no alternative method. That both these things are gone. That is just you and the path in front of you towards that single image. That's it. And here's what you're going to find out in the coming weeks and months. When you focus purely on where you are going to land, then your body will take care of the jumping. You don't have to think about it. You don't need another plan. You don't need better tactics and strategies. As long as you have your image, you become delusional to the rest and give yourself undeniable urgency that pushes you towards your image, then you'll realize that what you want is already here. That's it. See you in the next one.